If you think about the impact it has on your mindset, it will completely change the way you spend your time. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. All right, let's get cracking with this one today. So I want to ask you a question. If you had to look at your whole life as a whole, now, if you're 40, I want you to look back over the last 40 years. If you're 30, so on. So I want you to pick your age and look back over the last whatever age you are, 20, 30, 40, 45, 50 years, whatever it is. Now, what I want you to do is ask yourself, who are the 5 people that I've spent the most time with over that period? Now, for most of you, when you look at it, it'll be quite interesting because we've all heard the term that who you spend or who you hang around is who you become. But what most people don't think about is who they spend time with has the greatest influence on their psychology and their thinking, their beliefs, their ideas, their ideals. So when we have a look at most people's lives, the people that they spend time around and the most amount of time, even if you just look over the last 12-month period, let's say you're a business owner. If you're a business owner and you're working 100 hours a week, you're probably spending the most amount of time with your 4 or 5 closest staff members, depending on how big the organization is. So they are going to have the biggest impact on your mindset over everything else, unless you're bringing in external information, which is quite frequent. If you're in an intimate relationship, and let's say that you spend the weekends with your husband or wife and then your kids, and then you finish work at 5 o'clock and you go home, you spend time with husband and wife and kids, and then you wake up in the morning and you spend an hour or 2 with the husband, wife, or kids before they go to school or before they go to work, then they probably have some of the biggest impacts on your mental states, your mindset, your habits, your behaviors, your self-esteem, your thought processes. All of those things are all heavily impacted by the people that you spend the most time with. But then this leads us to the question, if I've got these big goals and I want to achieve way more in life, are they the right people to be hanging around? For most people, the answer is no. And that's why they're not getting the results that they want. Because if you need to make a decision, right? Let's say you're in an intimate relationship and you're a wife in the relationship and you go to your husband and you say, hey, I want to do these things. I'm extremely driven. I'm ambitious as a person. You know, we make good money and we should be doing this thing in order to move myself forward, my character, my mindset, our lifestyle, whatever our goals are. And then your partner goes, well, no, I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea. Your life is so heavily influenced by their thinking. Now, either you're going to have to change their thinking, they're going to have to change their environment so that they step up to another level, they're going to have to bring in different information, or you're going to have to become a better communicator and a leader to be able to change their mindset. But you also need to make sure that you're bringing in enough new information consistently to keep you stepping up. And this is where most people fail. Most small business owners spend less time learning about business, learning about discipline, learning about self-worth, self-esteem, learning about how their mindset works, learning the influence of their mindset on their emotional states and how their emotional states impact their actions and behaviors on a daily basis. They don't have self-control. The majority of small business owners, their mind is occupied by the thoughts and the judgments and the criticisms and the influence of others on their thinking. And so most small business owners will never really grow their business because of those reasons. That's tough. Most people in an intimate relationship, they probably won't grow as people. Most people, once they probably hit their early 20s and they get married and have kids, they're essentially going downhill from there. They might peak at maybe 30 because now they've made a bit more money. Let's say they've had a couple of pay rises, they've come out of university. Let's say they've got a trade, they've worked a couple of years in that, they bought a house, now they've got a mortgage, couple of cars. And here we are. Now they're 45 and they're grumpy, they haven't grown, they watch sport all weekend because the only way that they get self-validation is to watch sport and say we won, which you had nothing to do with. Essentially, your self-worth is based on a team of individuals that have nothing to do with you winning a game. And now you feel better about yourself and your week in your life because the team that you support won. You know how immature that is? It's pretty bad. Right now, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with sport, but it's asking yourself the question, why do you watch it? Is it for the excitement, which then is an emotional state? Is it because it's a way that you validate yourself, like you're achieving and you're winning in life and that you're doing a great thing? Last night, I watched Instagram blow up because there was a match here in South Australia, Australian rules football match. And people who had the winning team, they were sitting there going, yeah, and they're all bagging the other team out. And then the people in the other team are like, oh, well, it's because we had this and that. I don't know why the fuck any person who posts on social media about their sports team feels like whatever they post is going to give them some form of validation, because that's why they're doing it. Hey, we won. We are better than you. What's happening there is that the other people are going, well, hang on, we didn't lose because of all these reasons, and then they justify their response. All they're trying to do is one up and one down each other. That's all that they're doing. And that's a form of validation. It's like saying, I'm better than you because of these reasons. Now, if it's not based on your actions, you have no self-worth, self-love, self-respect, self-confidence, or anything that comes from that winning. The only thing that you have done is you've sat on the chair, either in front of your television or at the sporting ground, probably ate shitty food, probably drank alcohol, and sat around a whole bunch of people who do exactly the same thing. And now your validation came because they won. Now, listen here. They wake up early in the morning, they exercise, they go to the gym, they hit training hard, they have coaches, which is a fucking huge thing about winning. Most people are like, oh, I don't need a coach. Good luck, motherfucker, when the best people on the planet have coaches, but you're way better and way smarter and way more intelligent and way more effective than the best people at the top of their game, which is why they need coaches and you don't, because you're so much smarter and so much better and so much more effective than what they are. You know how stupid that is when I hear that from someone? I'm like, man, you are dumb. Super fucking dumb. My point is you've got to be careful with those things. But we're coming back to the people that you hang around is who you become due to the influences on your psychology and your thinking patterns and the way that you act and the way that you emotionally respond and the way that you think through things. And like I said, I'm not against sports. Some of you will be pissed off because you're like, well, I watch sport for all these reasons. I watch it to relax. And you're going to justify it in your ways. But essentially you're dedicating, let's say you've got a team. Let's say it takes you 45 minutes or an hour to get to the football match. It takes you an hour to get home. There's 2 hours of your week gone. And then you're going to sit there for 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours. So there's 5 hours. That's almost half a day dedicated to you watching that sporting match. Now, if you drink, you've ridden off the rest of the day. The question is, what value does that game bring you? What validation do you get from that? Why are you doing that? What actually is the real reason for it? The truth is that most people do that because it's their only way of validating themselves, and it's their only way of feeling like they're winning in life for most people. And also, most people are attached to drama, which is why they love the game, because when the team kick, they feel like they're winning and they get all excited and hyperactive. And then when they get a goal kicked against them, they get down and they feel like shit and they get angry and they get frustrated and they yell at people, oh, they should have done this and they should have done that. And so they get this big emotional variety just by watching the game. So what's really happening there is that those people are addicted to drama. In most cases, not everybody, some people aren't. There are exceptions to the rules, and I can give you some in a minute. And then when you look at that also, if they're addicted to drama, normally it's creating manic states. So they get high highs and low lows. A lot of people operate in their life on a daily basis in that way, which is why they engage in drama, why they need to get caught up in problems, why they get fucked off with things, why they're aggressive, why they're hyper angry, why they drive home and they're listening to the radio and someone comes on and they say the government are doing this, and that person goes, well, I can't believe the government do that. And now here we go again. Then the car in front of them stops and they beep the horn. They're like, come on, motherfucker, the light's green. And the light just went green. It's like a 0.1 second reaction time that the person has. And this person's already pissed and reacting. Why? Because they're hyper manic. They're manic, which means that they need to have the highs and the lows and they have all this emotional instability. But that's what makes them feel alive, because they don't have goals. They don't have a clear mission. They're not emotionally controlled. They're not mentally stable. And that's the majority of the population. And there's levels to that as well. Now, where is this different? If you're a professional athlete and you're watching the game, you're normally watching it because you're watching how it's being played, because you're a professional athlete and it's helping you improve your game so that you can get there. Young kids, when they watch sport, if they want to grow up and be a basketballer or a footballer or whatever, of course they're going to watch the game because it's helping them to grow. They're actually using it as a way of developing themselves and developing their career. Is that a great way? Yeah. If you want to coach the game and you're watching the gameplay, 100%. I worked with a guy who was an investment banker, and he watched the game because his highest value was strategy or strategic planning and strategy. So he would go into these high-level negotiations and he's thinking about how things work. So he would play chess in his spare time because it's a highly strategic game. He would watch sport because he's watching strategy, and it helped him to think through how he was strategic in his business and in his business operations. But he didn't get emotionally involved in the game. He had a team that he supported, but if they lost, he didn't care. And if they won, he didn't really care. He didn't react. He just loved the game because of the strategy, and he would try to figure out what strategy the game was being played in. Most other people don't do that. If you're a business owner and you sponsor the club, completely understand. Of course you want to go there because you're going to get customers. If you can talk to people, you can take clients along. And if they love the game and they're emotionally up and down, they're going to feel better. They're going to feel like you're looking after them. I get that. But if you're just someone sitting in the grandstands, you pay a couple $100 a year or $1,000 a year or whatever for your pass, you then get all high, all emotional, all down, all depressed, all frustrated, all angry. That's creating all these mental and emotional instabilities for you. That is part of your problem as to why you're not achieving the things that you want in life. Okay, but like I said, there's always exceptions to the rules. But I would say that if you pack a stadium with 100,000 people, that 90,000 of the people are there due to their emotional instabilities and their manicness. It's not due to how the game's being played or them making money financially or it impacting their life in some positive way. So now, let's come back to talking about the people that you hang around. So if you spend a lot of time in your intimate relationship with your partner, my question is that the person who inspires you in life and is going to help you to get to the level that you want to get to as an individual person? So in my life with Jess, we've had many a conversation around this and many heated argument. And what happened was when we got together, there were parts of her that made me better. So she would go to the gym, I would go to the gym. I would sit on the couch, she would go, hey, get your ass up, let's go to the gym. So there's a common goal there. She's actually a lot better, especially with sticking to plans and to being really goal driven. I'm pretty good, but she is a lot better. If her personal trainer says you have to train on these days, she will train on those days. Whereas I can go, well, you know what, I'll just wake up tomorrow and I'll do that workout before I have these things. And, you know, if I have to miss a day, I miss that day, but I'll make it up tomorrow. So I will do everything in a week period. If I've got to miss a day, I'll miss a day because I've got to make it up somewhere else. Most of the time I don't know, but that's how we'll do it. If she gets a nutrition plan, she'll just stick to it. I'm a bit more flexible where I'm like, you know what, I'm out in a meeting, I'm just going to get this. So I'm a little bit more flexible than what she is in that area. So she helps me in regards to those things. But what used to happen was financially, she is more of a financial, I guess you could say she's more driven by financial stability. And because she's got a high level of strategic planning and operations in her values, she wants to structure everything. I'm more entrepreneurial, so I'm more dopamine driven. I'm a bit more hyperactive, a bit more enthusiastic. I like hanging around people a lot more than what she does. And so we would have conflicts because I couldn't grow our finances when I was consistently getting bollocked for making decisions in the business. And so that would normally lead to arguments because I didn't want to have my value in the business, but also my value in the relationship suppressed, nor did I not want to achieve my goals and my dreams. So I would have to sit down and communicate with her. And I actually had this conversation with her last night. Not that it was heated, but we just had the conversation. And I said, here's something that I need to do. Here's the amount I need to do it. Here's why I recommend to do it. And she sat there and she's like, okay, but what about these things? And I spoke through it with her and she went, okay, I understand now. Let's do this. Before, we didn't communicate that effectively, but I have to use her values and her knowledge and her skills and her strengths to help me to grow. So in our relationship, we actually both push each other to grow. So I believe that my life is actually better off by having Jess in my life because she pushes me to grow and she thinks differently in certain ways, which allow me to excel. And so I will use those strengths. Most other people that I see in relationships don't do that. They suppress the shit out of each other. Guy has a high value on his friends, says, I want to go hang out with my mates. Wife knows that he goes out drinking, says that he's going to be home by 9 o'clock. He's unreliable. He has no real discipline because she watches him every week say, I'm going to go to the gym, and he doesn't go to the gym. He says that I'm going to make more money this year and doesn't. He says we're going to go on a holiday as a family overseas and we don't. And so all of this stacks up for the woman. So then he says, I want to go out drinking with my friends. And she goes, no way, motherfucker, because of all those past stacked incidents and knowing that the person is unreliable, undisciplined, unfocused, and he just loses his shit and then he gets blasted and then gets home at 3 o'clock in the morning and she's worrying all night about him. That does not lead to a good relationship. That's a lot of people's relationship. She might say, I'm going shopping. If he's the core provider, he's going, no, you're not. Don't be spending any money. Give me a credit card, because he knows that she's undisciplined, unfocused, can't control herself. She goes to the mall, comes home with all these handbags and shit like that because she's with her friends and they say, oh, I like that t-shirt. What about those jeans? And you go, okay, I'll try them on as well. Now you weren't going to go spend any money, but you've got t-shirts, jeans, new shoes, all of that stuff. You feel better about your values, but now your partner doesn't. All of these things stack. If the person you spend the most time with is your intimate partner, you have to make sure that they're building their self-worth and you're building yours. We get so many couples who come to Thrive Time who have been stuck, who have suppressed each other in the relationship. Sometimes the relationship is almost over. Sometimes people come and they go, this is our last hope. Other times people come after they've split, but they've got kids and they need to learn how to communicate effectively with each other, how to understand each other and how not to be emotionally reactive because of the kids. we get couples who come to our events like Thrive Time for that specific reason. The people that you spend the most time with have the most influence on your psychology and your emotional states and you as a person. So we've all heard the term, who you hang around is who you become. My question is, do you want to become more like your kids? Do you want to become more like your husband, wife, or your intimate partner? Do you want to become more like the friends that you hang around? If you're the top dog with your friends, I actually had a guy here the other week. He is a very high-level business person. And he's got a great business. A lot of the people that he hangs around are higher level than him, so it drives him in business. So he's got a high group of business people that he hangs out with, but also he also has friends that he hangs out with who run amok, who party all the time, and it makes him want to go out and party and run amok. So that eventually can impact his business. Also, the people who want to go out and party and run amok are normally pretty loose. They have poor intimate relationships, and a lot of them are single. So there's part of him now that is going, shit, I want to be single. I think I want to go out and party all the time. I'm not sure that I want a marriage. Now, you know that if that's going to happen, how's that going to impact his business? He's spent all this time growing a highly successful business and he's become, a high-level business person because of those other people that he's hanging around. But he's also hanging around a bunch of people who just go out, do lines of coke, drink, all of that stuff. Now, most of them don't have money. Most of them don't have businesses. Most of them don't have effective relationships, right? They're the ones that complain about their partner all the time. But on a Friday night, they go out for a couple of drinks with the boys and get home at, 3 a.m. on Saturday night and have been doing lines of coke and have blown like $200, $300, $500 on alcohol. Now, he can blow $500 on alcohol, but they probably can't. And so then that's going to impact the relationship. So I had to point all this out and go through and go, look, the people that you're hanging around, are they where you want to be? And he said, well, fuck no, not really. And I said, they might be fun. But you know what? Sometimes hanging around certain people might make life fun, but that's because you haven't made life fun with your goals. Like, I love working in business. I actually find it really fun because I hang out with a lot of great people. It inspires me. I focus on my mission. I focus on my vision. I focus on my purpose. And this is why I push so hard for everyone who's listening to this to get to Thrive Time, to do my Thrive Time online program or to come to the live event. You can do both. But my point is that until you have a clear success map, you don't know what you're driving for. And if you don't know what you're driving for, you don't know what fulfills you. And if you don't know what fulfills you, you're going to look for short-term immediate gratification. And you're going to suffer through your daily actions. Most of life is going to become painful or suck. So most people who complain about their job, they're stuck in a job that they don't enjoy. Therefore, on the weekends, they need to celebrate or have some sort of something that makes them feel good about life again so that then they can pick themselves back up because it makes life enjoyable. It makes them feel like they're alive again. If you feel alive every day, like people ring me up and they're like, do you want to go out this weekend and party? And I'm like, fuck no. My week is a party. Like I wake up in the morning, I've got an amazing relationship with Jess. I have a nice shower in my nice home. I come down here, I record podcasts. I'm smiling if you're watching the YouTube. I'm smiling. I enjoy this. Today, I've got a client that I'm catching up with after this. He's gone from a $1 million a year revenue business to around about a $14 million a year revenue business. He's building a great lifestyle as well. He's bought a nice yacht, which he always wanted. He's got some nice cars. Now he's just about to start to build a brand new dream home for him and his partner and his kids. So hanging out with those types of people, I love. We'll go out for lunch. We'll probably go to a nice restaurant, have a nice steak. And during that, I'm getting paid. I get paid for 4 hours to coach him at that restaurant. My life is fucking chill. I love it. Now, yeah, there are challenges and there are problems and there are adversities and hell yeah. But that's why I have coaches. That's why I have mentors. That's why I have people to rely upon. Because the growth part, the challenge is what I enjoy also. If you're stuck in a monotonous cycle throughout life where everything's the same, you wake up, get up, got to go to work, got to do this, got to get the kids to school. Blah. When the weekend comes, you're like, shit, how do I make it exciting? Or Friday night comes, how do I make it exciting? Because you have to feel alive again. You've set your life up wrong. You don't have a clear success map. You don't know what success looks like. When you do that, you're not driven by fulfillment. You're driven by your emotions. And so therefore, you've got to get into that emotional state again. You've got to have those peaks and the troughs, those manic behaviors. You go up, you go down, you get frustrated. People who are living a great life don't want to punch people at the traffic lights because, they took off 30 seconds later. People who listen to talkback radio, they're not the people who are crushing it all day long. They're listening to other people's opinions and views so that they can get emotionally reactive to stuff. They hear the good news story, they hear the bad news story. They hear about what other people think, and then you can sit there and be self-righteous and be like, well, I wouldn't fucking do that. But that's because you wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't do jack shit in your life because if you did, you wouldn't be listening to talkback radio. You'd be focused on your own goals, your own dreams, your own ambitions, and where you want to be. In fact, I watched a friend of mine deteriorate. He was a very successful business person, great guy. He had some big challenges in business. I've tried to get him to work with me, but he always puts it off. I've known him for probably 15 years. Great guy. At one stage, he had companies that were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And anyway, I watched him have some business challenges. He eventually shut down his companies and then he fucked off overseas and traveled for a while. I caught up with him recently, and what I noticed was that a lot of his conversations were around conspiracy theories, why the government were suppressing everyone, why the media do what they do, and all of this sort of stuff. Now, look, I understand that and I'm okay to engage in that. But what I found was he kept directing conversations back to those things, which was a way of making him feel powerful again. Well, the government do this. I get that the government do that because they're the government. We all know that the government does that. There's only a couple of things we can do. We can protest about it, and if there's enough people, then potentially it'll make change. We can go in there and take over the government. So essentially you create a coup, you go in there, you shoot a couple of politicians, you use military-like force, and you take over the government and you control the country again. That happens in some countries. It hasn't happened a lot in America or Australia, that's for sure. So those countries are a lot more stable and have bigger militaries and whatever. So that's probably not going to happen. So you could become a politician. You could become highly influential. You could use your status to do that. Celebrities can do that as well and push certain agendas. You could buy media companies or media agencies and control the agenda. What are you going to do? Sitting there listening to talkback radio or getting caught in conspiracy theories. And I found it interesting this morning that there's 2 Boeing whistleblowers that have mysteriously died. I don't know if you know what's going on, but Boeing had a bunch of planes that they were making that they had issues with, and a couple of them crashed. And so they were investigating it. A couple of whistleblowers have come out and said, well, it's because they're taking shortcuts and here's what they're doing and so on, and the planes are dangerous and they probably need to be grounded. Well, 2 of those whistleblowers have died in the last month in sort of mysterious ways. One supposedly committed suicide. We all know the Epstein case. But getting caught up in these conspiracies, what are you going to do? How's it going to change your life? How are you going to be impacted by it? And if you're not prepared to change it, then you have to let it go. In the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, in that book, they talk about the locus of control. Now, you can only control you. You can influence others. Other than that, you've got to let it go. You can only control your emotions, your reactions, your thoughts, your behaviors. Other than that, you can't do shit. I can't control anyone else in my life. When people are out of control in their own circle of influence, then they try to control other people. So when we talk about control, like I have people who say to me, I just don't want to be controlling. And I'm like, that's why your life is out of control. I'm a highly controlled motherfucker. Like, if something's not working, I will take control of that situation. I might be controlling, because I don't let shit get out of control. That's in my own life. If I can't influence people, I will take control of that situation. So in an environment of work, I can influence my staff members, I can train them, I can develop them, but there are times where shit happens where I just have to come in and regain control and take over that control, because that's what I can do. I can't control one of my staff members. You won't control your kids. You can't control your intimate partner. People try to do that, but it just creates stress for them because they're trying to control something you can't control. You've got control, you have influence, and then outside of that, you just have to let it go. If I can't influence something and I can't control something, got to let it go. So my question is, can I control the government? The answer is no. Can I influence the government? Maybe I could. But how am I going to do that? Can I do it through my popularity? Can I do it through my social media? Can I do it by creating a large lobby group or some sort of a group? Maybe. There's all these different things, how you can create influence. But outside of that, I got to let it go. Now, a lot of the time, the shit that the government does isn't part of my purpose, isn't part of my mission, so I don't even think about it. I'm just like, if the government do shit that create an environment where I can't thrive, I just pack up my shit and I leave. Because the thing that I can control is money. I can control my own life. I can control how I operate. So some of my friends during COVID were using private jets to fly around because they were able to get through back doors that, when the airlines are shut down and people can't fly, or they've got to go through COVID tests and all that shit. They would literally fly to another state, go to the airport, go through a back gate, and they're fucking out. Most people didn't know that, but that's what happens. So they have more control by having more money. So does money help with control? Fuck yeah, it does. Anyone who doesn't think that is stupid. And people who complain about people having money are normally those without money who don't have control of their own life and want to try to control everybody else through their own thoughts and opinions, which most people don't give a fuck about because they don't have any control. So if the people that you're hanging around, you have to make a decision. Can I influence them? Because if you can't influence them to change to become a net positive or something empowering in your life that's going to help you to get somewhere, then you have to regain control in your own life and say, I need to change that group. So this week, I really want you to have a think about, are the people that I'm hanging around and spending the most time with, are they helping me to achieve my goals? Now, I'm not saying leave your relationship. I'm not saying get a divorce. I'm not saying tell all your friends to fuck off. I still catch up with some of my friends, my old friends, and some of them are still drinking and smoking weed and all that stuff, and I'll catch up with them and we'll, have some food or something, and I see how they're going and I wish them all the best because I hope that they improve. All I want to do is influence them and just make sure that they're still okay and everything like that. I appreciate them. I still respect them. I love them. They've been friends of mine for a long, long time, but I don't spend too much time with them. Where do I spend the most amount of my time every day? Most days, listening to podcasts, listening to audiobooks. Because if I can go and get an audiobook of, let's say, the top 100 people in the field of business and leadership. Some of them have passed away now. I can go and read their book and they are influencing my thoughts, my ideas, the way I act, the way I respond. So if I can read 100 of the greatest business books, I'm a lot more likely to have a highly successful business because they're influencing me. So if I listen to 3 hours of a book and you go home and you spend an hour with your kids and an hour with your wife, you've spent 3 hours today listening to the highest level business people on the planet versus an hour with the kids and an hour with the wife. And that's okay because you've got an hour. It's fine. But if you're spending an hour with your kids, an hour with your wife, and then you don't listen to any audiobooks or listen to any podcasts or go to any seminars or any events, or you're not hanging out with high level people, then they're going to influence your thinking. So you have to be smarter with the influence of the knowledge that you get through your own mind. That's why books are great. Ty Lopez said this, and he said, all these people out there are like, oh, another fucking guru. In the old days, we used to learn through gurus. So if you're a blacksmith, you would learn from the guru who's the blacksmith. Now they would put you next to them and you would learn everything you could. If you were a baker and you baked bread, okay, or you baked goods, you would go and learn from a baker and you would sit there and master the art of baking and working in a bakery. And you would go and do that until you became great. So we've always learned off of gurus. The problem is that in the 1900s, instead of learning off gurus, we had schooling systems created. But the big change happened when women entered the workforce during World War I and around about that time. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with this. Some fucking shithead again is going to pick up this and go, oh, women, are you saying that women shouldn't be in the workforce? I'm not saying that at all. I think that it's fantastic that both men, women, and whoever can be in the workforce. I think that it's fantastic. In my team, there are consistently more women in my team than men. And that's a common pattern. I tend to work well with females for many different reasons, right? Because there's different characteristics, definitely different character traits that most of them possess that I don't. And so, I'll use those strengths and they use my strengths and it's great. But anyway, my point is that women went into the workforce, people didn't know what to do with their children. And so they eventually created a school system. That school system then was created so that the gurus didn't teach people how to do things. We had teachers. Now, most teachers are not gurus. Most teachers have never done anything apart from teaching, just like most politicians have never done anything apart from debating. So they are professional debaters, and that's all they do. Some of them have come out of legal firms or worked in legal for a little bit, which, it's debating, and then now they become politicians. Some of them are accountants, so they're good at looking at numbers and data, and that's about it. But most of them have never run successful businesses. They haven't really achieved anything apart from politics. They haven't really done much apart from take under the table money and donations from people. So they've never really done anything. Now, I have family members who work in teaching, and there's nothing wrong with that, but they've never done anything apart from teaching. So now we give our kids up to people who aren't gurus, who go through a schooling system, who come out at the end, who say, I have a certificate, therefore I am smart. Therefore, I'm intelligent. Therefore, I should win in life. Then if they're really smart, they go to university. And if they're not smart like I wasn't, I then went and got a trade. And people who go to university tend to be more valued in countries like Australia and America because you have a university degree. It means you're more intelligent, which is completely false. And then they go through, they get a 4 or 5 or 6 year degree and come out on the other side and they go, now I need to enter the workforce. Holy fuck. This is why sometimes online I get criticized by people and they go, well, you're not a psychologist. Who fucking said that I was? That doesn't mean anything. I know plenty of psychologists who are more mentally fucked up than most of their clients. Now, that's not all psychologists, but there are a lot of them out there. There are fat personal trainers. There are overweight people who work in obesity clinics. There are a lot of unhealthy doctors. There are a lot of people who work in the finance industry who have no money. What are we trying to do here? Are we trying to learn off of the guru? Or are we trying to learn off of people with a certificate who say that, well, we've got some knowledge, but we've never implemented it. We've never had to have the characteristics that lead to success. We all know that discipline leads to success. If you get a university degree, that doesn't mean that you're disciplined. We all know that people who are mentally and emotionally stable or who have better mental and emotional stability tend to achieve a lot more in life and lead leadership positions. People who are better communicators tend to have leadership positions and they work well over a long period of time. None of that comes with that university degree. So you essentially enter the workforce, you get put into a management or a leadership position. Now you've got a team that's not effective. Now you're stressed all the time. You don't have the courage to make big decisions. And now we're in a clusterfuck of a world like we are right now, where people give advice because they have a degree, but they don't really know. Now, I'm not saying that everybody doesn't know, because there are plenty of people in those industries who are gurus. But what I'm getting at here is you really need to think about who you're learning from. You need to learn where the knowledge is coming from. You need to really think differently about the people that you're surrounding yourself with, where you're getting that information. If you're listening to talkback radio for 6 or 7 hours a day, you're listening to people who are complaining, who have enough time throughout the day to sit on a phone and talk about their opinions and their views, which mean nothing. Their opinions and views. It's not actions and behaviors. It's not strategies. We're not talking about frameworks that are going to help you to be better. It's just people complaining about shit or saying, I think this. That doesn't help. So you really need to sit there and think about, am I getting the right information and am I surrounded by the right people who are thinking the right ways to influence me enough to get to the level that I want to get to? This is why I hire mentors. This is why I have coaches. This is why I surround myself with the right people. And what really shits me a lot of the time is that people say things to me like, yeah, well, it's easy for you. You can hire people now because you've got money. How do you think I fucking got here? Do you think day one of owning a business, I was like, hey, I got this shit? Or do you think I was like, holy crap, I don't know what I'm doing. I better go hire someone. I had a coach from day one. I started listening to audio products, which changed my mind and it changed my life. I invested $229 or something like that out of the $230 that was in my bank account as a second or a third year apprentice when I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning, stressed as fuck about money, living back at home with my parents because my relationship fell apart and I had to make a decision. And that decision was, do I put fuel in my car tomorrow to get to work? Or do I buy this audio product that is maybe, who knows, I was flipping a coin, might help me change my life. And you know what I did? I made that decision and I bought the audio product. I still make those fucking decisions today. Because if a mentor comes to me that I know that I need and they say, I need 60 grand to work with you for 3 months, I go, okay, how do I get 60 grand? Where's that coming from? I'll negotiate a payment term if I need. I'll say, hey, look, is there some way that, we could start in this way? Sometimes that works. Other times they go, nope, you just need to find the 60. Then I'll go, all right, Jess, how do we do this? Do we pull some money out of my home loan? Do we put some money on a credit card? How do we get that cash? And I go and I look, do I have to sell one of my cars? I've said that before to Jess. I'll go, do I have to sell one of my cars? I'll sell my fucking McLaren. I will take any day of the week a mentor or a coach over a car. Fucking any day. Because I'll get the car back, right? I'll get the car back with the knowledge. My question to you is, would you do that? Because most of you won't. But that's also the reason why you're probably not getting the results you want, because you're more attached to physical things than you are actually being a better human being who is going to develop. And when I say better human being, I'm not talking about, whatever you perceive a good person is. I'm not sitting here saying, well, okay, you're nice to your kids. Okay, yep, I'm not saying that. But your kids are watching what you do. So if you're undisciplined, unfocused, you can't manage your emotions, you sit around all weekend watching sport, you drink alcohol to control your emotional states, they're watching you. Now you're telling me that you're a good person to your kids. Maybe. Are you really? Because they're watching. I know that that's harsh, but they're fucking watching. So you better step up. You better play the game. I have this conversation with dads all the time and mums. I say, look, just lead the way, right? Influence them through your actions. Be the best person you can be so that they can be the best person that they'll be, because they'll see what it looks like. They'll see you overcome the adversities of making those tough decisions and they'll go, shit, that is normal. So when I make those decisions, I show Jess, this is how I make decisions. And you know what? Jess has got better at that because she'll go, you know what? This is what I want. I know we've just got to figure out how we're going to make it work. That's it. Now, she was never like that when I met her because her parents aren't like that. And they were the people that she grew up with. That's who she spent the most time with. They were very cautious. Jess is a lot more risk tolerant now because she hangs around me. She sees how I take risks, how I think through things. So I really want you to reflect upon your life. And I want you to think after this episode, who are the people who are influencing you the most? Who are the people that you're allowing to spend the most amount of time with you who are going to influence your thoughts, your decisions, your actions, your behaviors, and all of those things? You might not realize how much they actually are. And then you have to ask yourself, if I'm not where I want to be, what do I have to do to change it? Do I need to listen to at least an audiobook a week? Do I need to keep listening to podcasts every day when I'm driving around? Like I listen to audiobooks when I mow the lawns. Now, I don't always mow the lawns. I actually have a gardener who comes and does that. But even when I didn't have a gardener, I would still listen to audiobooks. When I wash my car, I love washing my car because it gives me time to listen to audiobooks. Some people say, why do you wash your own car? Why don't you hire someone? Because it gives me time every week to wash my car so that I can listen to an audiobook or a podcast. The same reason why I mow my lawns. So the gardener says, well, I'll come every week. And I said, no, come every 2 weeks because then at least I get to mow once a fortnight. I don't have to do too much crazy shit like all the weeding and everything like that. But I still get to mow the lawns. It's like 45 minutes where I just get to listen to an audiobook. I enjoy it. Most days I go for a walk. I listen to an audiobook because now I'm gaining knowledge from the smartest people. I also hire mentors and coaches. So most weeks I'm speaking to someone. So I have a mentor in mindset. I have a mentor in business. I've hired a mentor in finance. I keep hiring all these experts because I have that knowledge. And this is where stupid people say things like, oh, he's a master of everything. He knows everything. Yeah, I am, motherfucker. I'm a lot more knowledgeable than most people. Why? Because I now gain knowledge from a dude who is a head of operations for a $1 billion private company that then just has been publicly listed now. He's now part of a publicly listed company that sold for $1.2 billion. How can that knowledge not rub off in my mind? So you don't think I have more business knowledge than most business owners? Fucking oath I do. Because I get that knowledge from him. Now, I've just hired a finance guy because it's like finance and reading the reporting and understanding finances. I'm okay with it. Like, I'm probably better than most business owners. But why not hire the guy who is the chief of finance of a multi-billion-dollar company? Why not hire that guy and say, guy, look, teach me. How do you read the numbers? How do you know if something's a good deal? How do you negotiate terms? How do you look at things over a period of time? And I gain all that knowledge. So of course I'm going to be better. My personal trainer that I've been using for 2 years, he was originally one of my original clients that I mentored. But he went on to become amazing at programming. He beat one of the guys who was in the top 5 of the whole CrossFit Games. He beat that guy. He's my personal trainer. So I hired him because he's extremely good. When I wanted to learn strength and conditioning when I was a personal trainer, I went out and trained at the South Australian Institute of Sport in weightlifting so that I could get better at understanding weightlifting. Am I better at Olympic lifting than most people, most general people who go to a CrossFit gym? Of course I am, because I practice Olympic lifting. Okay, so I have done that for a long period of time. When I started off in the personal training industry, I had 2 mentors that I consistently went around. One of them I helped start a franchise. So I learned from those people. I've always learned from people who are doing better than me in certain areas so that I can grab that knowledge, compress it, and then now I've become an expert in my space. Why? Because I have all this expertise. Last year, I think I read 58 books in the year, so it's over 1 a week. On average, that was my goal. And that's not to mention all the podcasts. Why? Because I'm consuming a lot of information, because that's what makes me an expert. My question to you is, are you doing that as well? Like, if you want to be a parent, how many great parenting books have you read? If you want to be a great communicator, how many events have you gone or seminars on communication? If you want to be great at business, how many events have you gone to or worked with mentors in the area of marketing, sales, branding, operations? This here is why I created my Business Growth Odyssey event, because most small business owners don't have all of those mentors. So I bring them in and they go, shit, I need a marketing guy. Maybe I could work with him. And so some of the people who come and speak at my events, they end up getting clients because our clientele know that this person is an expert and they get to learn off of them. I bring in finance guys. I bring in, marketing people. I bring in sales people. I bring in people in leadership, communication. And I do a lot of that stuff as well, as in like I teach a lot of that stuff so that these business people can learn. You've got to learn a lot. You have to know what areas you want to grow in, and then you have to have experts, gurus smashing you with knowledge. You've got to be swimming in it. If not, you'll just go back to doing what you've always done, because that's your safety zone. That's your comfort zone. That's where you feel safe. But at the same time, it's making you go backwards in life because other people are kicking your ass and they're winning because they just think differently. So who you hang around is who you become, and who you hang around influences your thinking the most. So just be very aware of that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you've loved this episode, please do me a favor. If you haven't rated and reviewed this podcast, please do so on whatever podcasting app that you're on. Just hit the star button. It will literally take you no more than 5 seconds. You've just got to go to the podcasting app that you're on. You'll see the star rating when you go back to the home screen of this podcast, The Underestimated Entrepreneur. You'll see the stars. Just click on the stars. Hopefully give it a 5-star rating because you're getting some value from it. Let's get it out to more people. Anyway, Driven Mofos, have a great day. Keep kicking ass. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.